Hello, good morning. So, welcome to day three of a very slow reading club, season three. I'm reading Antifragile by Nicholas Taleb. I will set my timer and start reading. Okay, let me set my timer. Okay, timer is set. You cannot say with any reliability that a certain remote event or shock is more likely than another unless you enjoy deceiving yourself. But you can state with a lot more confidence that an object or a structure is most fragile than another should a certain event happen. You can easily tell that your grandmother is more fragile to abrupt changes in temperature than you, that some military dictatorship is more fragile than Switzerland should political change happen. That a bank is more fragile than another should a crisis occur. That a poorly built model building is more fragile than the cathedral of shards should an earthquake happen. And centrally, you can even make the prediction of which one will last longer, instead of a discussion of risk, which is both predictive and CC. I advocate the notion of fragility, which is not predictive and, unlike risk, has an interesting word that can describe its functional opposite, the non CC concept of antifragility. To measure antifragility, there is a philosopher's stone like recipe using a compact and simplified rule that allows us to identify it across domains, from health to the construction of society. We have been unconsciously exploiting antifragility in practical life and consciously rejecting it, par- particularly in intellectual life. The Fragilista. Our idea is to avoid interference with things we don't understand. Well, some people are prone to the opposite. The fragilista belongs to that category of person who are usually in suit and tie, often on Fridays. He faces your jokes with icy solemnity and tends to develop back problems early in life, from sitting at a desk, riding airplanes, and studying newspapers. Is often involved in a strange ritual, something commonly called a mating. Now, in addition to these traits, he defaults to thinking that what he doesn't see is not there, or what it does not understand does not exist. At the core, he tends to mistake the unknown for the non existent. The Fragilista falls for the Soviet Herbert delusion, the unscientific overestimation of the reach of scientific knowledge. Because of such delusion, he is what is called a naive rationalist, a rationalizer, or sometimes just a rationalist, in the sense that he believes that the reason behind things are automatically accessible to him. And let us not confuse rationalizing with rational. The two are almost always exact opposites. Outside of physics and generally in complex domains, the reasons behind things have had a tendency to make themselves less obvious to us and even less to the fragilista. This property of natural things not to advertise themselves in a user's manual is, alas, not much of a hindrance. Some fragilistas will get together to write the user's manual themselves thanks to their definition of science. So, thanks to the fragilista, modern culture has been increasingly building blindness to the mysterious, the impenetrable, what Nishi called the Dionysian in life, or to translate Nishi into the less poetic but no less insightful Brooklyn vernacular. This is what our character Fattoni calls a sacred game. In short, the fragilista, medical, economic, social planning is one who makes you engage in policies and actions, all artificial, in which the benefits small and visible, and the side effects potentially severe and invisible. There is the medical fragilista who over intervenes in denying the body's natural ability to heal and give you medications with potentially very severe side effects. The policy fragilista, the interventionist social planner who mistakes the economy for a washing machine that continuously needs fixing by him and blows it up. The psychiatric fragilista who medicates children to improve their intellectual and emotional life. The soccer mom fragilista, the financial fragilista who makes people use risk models that destroy the banking system, then uses them again. The military fragilista who disturbs complex systems, the predictor fragilista who encourages you to take more risks, and many more. In the political discourse is lacking a concept. Politicians in their speeches, goals, promises aim at the timid concepts of resilience, solidity, not anti-fragility. In the process, are stifling the mechanisms of growth and evolution. We didn't get where we are thanks to the CC notion of resilience, and what's worse, we didn't get where we are today thanks to policy makers, but thanks to the appetite for risks and errors of a certain class of people we need to encourage product and respect, where simple is more sophisticated. A complex system, contrary to what people believe, does not require complicated systems, regulations, and intricate policies. The simpler, the better. Complications lead to multiplicative chains of unanticipated effects. Because of opacity, an intervention leads to unforeseen consequences, followed by apologies about the unforeseen aspect of the consequences, then to another intervention to correct the secondary effects, leading to an explosive series of branching unforeseen responses, each one worse than the preceding one. Yet, simplicity has been difficult to implement in modern life because it is against the spirit of a certain better brand of people who seek sophistication so that they can justify their profession. Less is more and usually more effective. Thus, I will produce a small number of tricks, directives, and interdicts how to live in a world we don't understand and rather, rather, I do not be afraid to work with things we badly don't understand and more part more principally in what manner we should work with this, or even better, how to dare to look our ignorance in the face and not be ashamed of being human, be aggressively and proudly human, but that may require some structural changes. What I propose is a roadmap to modify our man made systems to let the simple and natural take their course. But simplicity is not so simple to attain. Steve Jobs figured out that you have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. The Arabs have an expression for trench and prose, no skill to understand, master to write it. Heuristics are simplified rules of thumb that make things simple, easy to implement, but their main advantage is that the user knows that they are not perfect, just expedient, and is therefore less fooled by their powers. They become dangerous when you forget that. This book, the journey to the idea of agility, if anything, non-linear, if was if anything non-linear. I suddenly realized one day that fragility, which has been lacking a technical definition, could be expressed as what does not like volatility, and that what does not like volatility does not like randomness, uncertainty, disorder, errors, stressors, and such. I'm coughing a lot today. I'm having travel to cool down. Anyways, show must go on. So, the idea of anti-fragility and its implication in all the domains of human life. That's what Taleb talks about again and again in this book. And the idea of like people, I mean, we want to measure risk, but in short, Taleb says that it's impossible to measure, I would say, um, shocks, and that's why Taleb brings in the idea of anti-fragility, which is like we can measure fragility or the way our system doesn't like random events, shocks, stages, and in that way we can be moving forwards anti-fragility. So this is the idea Taleb talks about, and um, Taleb talks about simplicity and how we try to make things complex with, I mean, bringing in alienated concepts that are not real and embedded in practical scenario. So like he brought in the reference of less is more, which is obviously true in most of the domains. Less communication, less work, and I mean even in, I would say, most of the domains, less is always more. So I mean understanding the less and working hard to make thinking clean. I mean, I do not know the idea of how thinking can be made clean, but the thing is that obviously we try to make things complex. Oftentimes, even I found myself than it is. So, breaking down the steps, granular steps, is one of the important thing that we can understand from here. So this concept can be implemented to all of the domains that involve human life, from iatrogenetics or like um, body, um, or human body to any other spheres of human life. So this is I had for today. Hopefully I will come back tomorrow with another reading of Antifragile. Thanks a lot for listening.